Hello everyone and welcome to my painting demonstration session. And I'm continuing developing work on clouds and the views from them of them kind of from the top or sideways. So I've taken this photograph when I went up Nevis in Scotland, and that's a gorgeous, gorgeous view of the valley and the loch below. We're probably not halfway through Ben Nevis, but maybe two-thirds in. We still haven't reached the snow line there yet. But the views are already spectacular. I'm really excited to see how I can paint those fabulous shapes of clouds. Now, the photograph doesn't show a strong contrasts of the clouds, which I'd like to emphasize. And I'd love seeing that lower level of the clouds, this kind of in between, but maybe it's actually a lower level, which I can see closer to us. And then the next level going much further away, but I'd love to see more of the blue sky, and also would love to paint the depths of the valley below. So I'm going to start with a sketch and plan my overall shapes, and then we'll work with a sponge. So I picked up a neutral background today, a neutral gray. Then I can work into loads of cool colors for the sky and the clouds, loads of coolness on the ground as well. There's some lovely warmth on these couple of rocks here, and this part of the valley is lit up. The little patches of light is lit up, but I want to have that coolness there present first. So I'll build up on the coolness of the colors. Now on my palette, I have some white, ochre, orange, crimson, violet, a little dab of black for some of the to make my own indigos, and then I have ultramarine and phthalo blue. I'm going to start sketching with the indigo. So if I can mix one of my blues with a little bit of black, I'm going to use phthalo blue, quite a bit of water. Okay. And that's going to be my indigo. Now, if it's going to be too dark in tone, might just use a little bit of white just to see less of a contrast with my paler gray background. So overall, my horizon line is just a little bit lower than halfway through. That's probably halfway through my board. So maybe just a little bit lower, approximately what's happening to that darkness. Looks a little bit lifted up by the clouds on one side. So perhaps this side, maybe my cloud will be just a little bit lower. I can just immediately help myself by removing that stronger line. Okay. Now you would have said there's not much to draw there really, and you'd be right. So I'd love just to place few larger shapes, components which are really important to me. It's this close by shape of the cloud. Okay, and I can work into its form a bit more close later on. Okay, it's almost like a funky hat. It's a little flake or section of another cloud. Okay, it's quite good to see that they're below the horizon. So the horizon is a little bit above. It means that we are looking down on it all. And there's another large, more defined shape of a cloud somewhere here. So I've got three big shapes of defined clouds. A row of clouds which is still overhanging the horizon somewhere here, which it's almost like a blanket of clouds coming over. You can see its border. It's how it's coming towards, so I might be going that way. I would have thought going this way because of the way of the sweeping streaks of the light on the sky. Okay, so that's might be just that cloud going slightly wider here and getting narrower further away. Okay, and I'm going to look for that diagonal light, diagonal sky, develop kind of peeping through behind the clouds. Let's have a look at this shape. Something I might play a little bit more attention or just play with its, I think it's a bit, that's where my blue segment is going to be of the sky. Okay, and it's going to just be moving about. Now, the fabulous thing being so high up, you have all the drama developing right in front of you, and every moment as you look, the views are changing. The clouds could come in and like curtains cover everything up, then they suddenly can open and show you all the beauty below. Okay, I can see that shape developing here as well, which will have not as close as those two clouds, but slightly lower, so slightly behind it. Okay, so the sketching even of not overly strong shape at this stage gives me an opportunity to observe, to plan, to make my initial kind of thoughts put together. Let's try it gently already. Okay, that's there, but it's actually is combining with other shapes. Okay, that looks a little plain, but I think by the time I'll elaborate on the shapes of the clouds, I will make this area exciting. I'm also going to think about any contrast areas, any areas I want to have more of a focal point. So, or any sharpness. So, for example, I can see more sharpness in this area here as the clouds part and some blue sky appear. Okay, some of them. And this is a good corner as well. I just come in different streaks, and perhaps another third, a little extra stronger blue might come somewhere here. The moment they look similar in volume, but I think by the time I'll change the colors from more turquoise, cerulean blues to a little bit more deeper, I think that will be good. There's also exciting darkness. Sharpness between the clouds and their fluffy shapes somewhere here. So it just makes me again be unaware how those areas will contrast next to each other. Okay, now let's look at the land. So we can see these lovely rocks at the front. This gives me an opportunity to think how much of the valley I want to see, because I can make these rocks slightly lower and show more space behind the valley. Okay, maybe this rock is a little bit higher. This one's overlapping. I think the passes and actually quite big rocks, so the path is just coming here, and it's turns behind the ridge, gentle ridge here. So the vegetation, the quite strong vegetation is finished. We're in a rocky surface where there's a lot of moving rock, more crumbled rock. There's a beautiful light here. Okay, just want to make sure that that ridge is shown, and showing the contrasts of the light here will give me an opportunity to show it's actually part of the mountain rather than just small rocks standing here. So we'll see. I think they're reasonably, they're just protruding tops of the mountain here. And there's a little almost ledge around it here. We'll see how that will start appearing. It's also blends with highlights of the beautiful light in the distance, but I might paint it in a different way so the boldness of the colors here are different to the boldness of the light behind. Okay, I'm still thinking of the shape here. Like how this, maybe I'm just going to move my path a little bit more further down. It mingles with the shadows here. Okay, I think if I were to put my path next to the contrasts, it stays there. Have that dip in the path. Okay. Okay. Turning towards this, towards the right here. Okay, just want to make this lovely shadow. So I'm thinking tones already. They're not the right colors, but I'm thinking tones, as I want to show extra strength and power to these shapes. Okay. And now let's look a little bit more careful at the details below. So if I were to plan my valley, okay, maybe if I move those rocks, those it's a little bit too close. Let's have a look. Right, I'm going to plan my loch here, coming right under the cloud. There's a bit of water reflecting the sky here. and how the hills shaping this water here, and that's what I wanted to see. It's a bit more open in here because there is another lock this way, so I just didn't want this part of the rock over obscuring it. Okay, that's better. Can look for some of the silhouettes. Quite a flat surface because we're looking down on everything. So my shadows will need to be quite flat. Okay. Maybe a little bit more obscure further at the back. And this element here divides, gives us direction for the valley here as well. So Fort William is somewhere there. The cloud, we can actually see the peak, which appears quite flat in comparison where we are, but it's still quite a significant height. And I'll have to work with light and shadows on it to show it, but it's also will be more working with perspective of shapes and how they appear from quite higher view. Guess you can see a little bit more water here as well. Might exaggerate its volume. Okay, so let's move my rocks here where the water is. Initially, I thought I might have a little more of these rocky mountains. Actually, I can see how it will benefit by staying where. Let's just move a shadow on the water rather than the land. Okay, there's lovely border here. Then I'm going to connect it to the light shapes, and that will stop somewhere here. Yeah. I can have the light. That's what I was looking for by shrinking the mountain edge here, so I can bring some of that light across because there isn't a valley here. Maybe even deliberately getting a little extra curve here to show the light coming through, and that valley of farmlands, some of the Cottages will be perhaps somewhere there. Again, it's observing, observing, observing. It's giving me that opportunity to look for shapes, not as we normally look for a shape over a tree, over a fence, over the road, over the, yeah, I'm looking for those shadows, how those shadows will be created by the clouds, casting shadows. They're harder to define, or kind of connect which cloud casting which shadow. So just really need to look for the landscape. Let's stay darker for now. And okay, so I've got one light, another light, and another little lights. Okay, much happier with that. Okay, right, let's stop on the sketch stage here, and let's get my sponge out and start planning some colors. So I've got my sponge. I just soaked it in some water and rinsed it really, really well. And I'm going to load it with some white. I'm going to look for some cooler colors first. Building up some of the grays for the clouds. So I've got some white. I'm going to go for a little bit of ultramarine. A dab of violet. Okay, and a little bit of ochre. I want some sort of cooler shadows of the clouds first developing, and then I can work with the shadows. I don't want to paint the most dark tones first because it's harder to judge the darkness if we have a reasonably light gray background. Okay, that's too light. So just topping up the ochre, violet, and blue. Just it again. That's better. Okay. Let's look for those shapes of darkness. Another blue sky will be coming through here as well. Paint is getting used quite quickly because I'm covering big shapes of surface. And stay a little bit neutral in color, but at the same time I don't want to have plain gray. I want to have a little color, slightly darker for this area. Okay, maybe even darker here as well. I'm gonna let it dry and maybe add more darkness below. Sorry, in that top corner. As I'm moving my sponge, some of the strokes come out a little bit lighter, some a bit more transparent, some a bit more opaque. And also the paint in the sponge as well. Some corner might have just a gentle less coolness or a bit more extra warmth, so that's sponge application of color is very helpful. It gives me that variety immediately. What I might not be able to have that settled in with a brush stroke, at least so quickly. Okay. Softness here also allows me to look for my key points where the light will be bordering the shadows. So just those three colors, and I'm just gently varying their consistency, kind of their volume or their percentage to make the color slightly darker or to make the one color stronger than another. Okay, I think just the strokes, I think that's will dry more evenly. Okay, this grayish blue, grayish violet actually is stronger than the blue. So for now, that's all fine. We'll see how fresh blue comes in the area. If it will be too violet, I can always tone it down and bring more coolness. Have a little more coolness for the cloud at the front. I'll make its shadows bigger than I need, so then I can build my whites over. I'm also going to start testing how the gray could be spreading as part of that fluffy border. Okay. And to feel the form of the cloud, how its parts stay stronger than others, how they show that volume. Use a little extra white and ochre. Might block some of the larger shapes of light. It's actually very similar to the darkness of my background, but I might use that as a good blending. Okay. Darkness here. So I'm working in subtones of my clouds. just some identification of those lighter shapes, trying to incorporate them straight away with blend tones from one to another. There will be loads of bold whites as well. So I'm planning for them ahead, but keeping certain areas a little flatter for now. Leave more blue here actually from the sky. We'll see. Yeah, that's good. Using the tip of the kind of corner of my sponge allows me to have more finer lines. Some more darkness a little here. So for me to see the whites of my clouds, I do need to have this gray tone present. So my whites are not there yet. I want to build them very softly. We'll have a little reminder and hint of shapes. So they will be ready to integrate with future light. Okay, it means I need a little more darkness behind this shape. A bit of orange as well is good, mixing my gray. The closer I'm going towards the land, the freer I'll use that orange for a little extra warmer colors for the clouds. Okay. Now let the sky dry. I'd love to see more development there. I think I can put a little braver strokes here coming to the blues. I want to do the blue sky once my initial grays for the clouds dry. Will give me an opportunity to wipe things off if I don't like them as I'm building it. So it just gives me that extra time to think. Okay, so for now, okay, I think I've done this there. Just checking if I've left any other shapes which could benefit from earlier coolness. Okay, so it looks quite a greyish and overall bland look. But for me, I found more crevasses and indentations, and within my mind, I'm much more spatially aware of of them. Right. Well, I've got my light color on my sponge. If I were to add a little more ultramarine and white to these grays, I can paint some of the water, some of the locks. And my palette makes a strange noise here. It still reflects the shadows of the clouds as well, so just blue doesn't quite look right to me, but more on the blue side. Okay, you might not see it as much, but there is a bit more color here. Again, all the colors are linked together. They have a similar foundations for them so far. Okay, and this darker color could also come here. Right. And now I'm happy to introduce the shadows. They will be cooler, but there still will be some of the warmth present because we've got all the lovely rocks, we've got some of the greens, we've got the warmth in the rocks as well. But not overly warm initially. So maybe I'll start from some of the distant darknesses because they're a little simpler painted. So if I were to use my orange now, I might just make that difference to our blue and violet mixture. Just checking that I don't have not mixed paint. Okay, so all of this area got that blockiness of gray, but I can also see sub areas in there. So let's paint it as a unity, but also still try to see a little variety. Extra darkness could come here. So I'm not just painting the backdrop, I'm also painting how the clouds going to border, how they're going to support. So how the background, how the land is going to support the clouds, contrasts. Let's have a look at the too low. So that's my other darks. So I want to paint what's right back in the horizon. So some sharpness will be important. but this is the furthest part on land, so I need to be really carefully done. Okay, that's shown already, that gap. And here I might just let it dry, as it's harder to see what's actually is there. Now, small areas could always be done with a brush. I'm quite happy just to do loose planning, loose color application here. This border could still be slightly darker. Oh, sometimes also the brush makes the colors quite precise, and you have to place them quite precise. If you want to have more of a mingle and more an atmosphere, the sponge gives you that less precise and gives us an opportunity to show more natural, spontaneous marks. Okay, I'll build up some of that warmth and then I'll work with more shapes after, just flatten it all. Maybe an approximate plan for some of the warmth as I'm in this area. And even I know it's the same color, but even these lights, I think if I were to paint them all together, I'll start seeing shapes united. Can have more defined contrasts after. Now I want to do more shadows first, but sometimes your painting process actually dictates what you do. You might just blend some of this light as a light and as elements of warmth before blocking the coolness and stronger shadows. It's partially damp here, partially dry, so it's a little bit harder to work with in between the surface. Going for some more stronger blue, ultramarine, violet, a minuscule amount of black. Just want the shape to stay as a shape rather than an outline. Not too much attention to it. It's so dry, it will show slightly more darker color as well. Yeah, I want to add a little more details here. But the damp color spreads slightly different here. It doesn't give me that freedom of stretching or softening the color. It's or stays there or it's actually lifts at the moment. I'll do a little bit more here so they're not too repetitive shapes. You see, if I smudge here, it just lifts shapes. Feel like you want to do it now because you've got the right colors for the area. Okay, let's be a bit more patient here. Now let's see what this area can give us. If I mix ultramarine with some ochre, it will give me a little bit more of a green, a darker green. You can see a green slope. Come test it out and then come close to the water. And I can define the shapes with a brush maybe better. So the darkness here coming in. And it becomes this rocky mountain, rocky surface. Yeah, so one shape moves into another. And suddenly we are here. Pressing the sponge, the color becomes a little lighter. I think it just brings them white in the middle of from the middle of the sponge. Still testing my tones without doing them too black. I'm exploring some of the color, looking at variation of browns, variations of greens, grays, subtones when I can still see this path on the border with the mountains here. Okay, I think that's too light gray, but perhaps by the time I mingle it and mix it with the existing damp colors, it might give me a good connection here. Again, oak and ultramarine. Just give me that greenish gray here first. I can pull bold colors at any point later on when I'm ready for them. I want to bring all these settled colors first. And to see this build up. Maybe I'll start using a little bit of phthalo blue. And then that's when the green becomes more stronger. So I'm controlling how much green I want the shapes to be. Okay, and also a limited amount of white to have the ground with a lot of shadows. Maybe a little more green somewhere here, gently coming. The borders of my sponge can help me with sharper lines. Sometimes it's easier than the brush. Okay. Some shadows uniting the image together. Let's have some of these darks. Casting shadow from the cloud. Okay, I think I lost some of my lights here. Okay, they're quite small. I'll give them an approximate location so I can come back to it after. This is the valley, so I need to paint it more as a unity of shapes. Yeah, still paint is a little too damp to smudgentate, but it's just lifts. It's like I'm on the plane, a small little exploring plane. That is my line of the rocky mountain. I need to work in its shape a bit stronger here. For my foreground here, thinking of just blocking it for now. Might be a little extra red and orange in here to show the close proximity, maybe a bit of black to show that coolness is for shapes further away, and the extra warmth might be reserved for the front. Okay, now this lovely darkness and texture not quite working with my path because they're on a different strength. Okay, I need to make that connection. Perhaps just a little more patience as well of waiting areas to dry to see the true colors, and also see to be able to paint over these areas. Quite like this red and black. it's been a little messy here, but I think the tones are getting stronger. Right, one more summary here of the valley. I think my shadow could go slightly lower. And the highlights might just move to the lower level here. Okay, let's just see if I can move some of the light which is coming from this side. If I can shelter myself from it, I'll see things a bit better as well. Also, I can give my sponge a quick wash and overview the picture. Some of the areas are drying here, that's good. I'm gonna let this one settle. Let's work now with some lights. Now we've got the shadows, we've got the medium darknesses, so the lights, that's what we're lacking at the moment. So let's go for some fresh white, a little bit of ochre, and still back to pale blue, and a very small amount of violet. I'm going to work mainly with color as paint, but no water. I just want that strength of paint present rather than dilute the paint. Diluting, just adding extra water, will make the shapes, well, my application of paint transparent, and it will darken by the time it dries. So let's just, so this is, you can see it's not direct fresh white, but this is already bolder light than my existing one. If I want to have softer borders, I can use the back of my sponge to blend the colors or dilute them. Okay. So I'm gonna go gently through the painting, identifying some of them stronger lights, so then I can bring more contrast to the sky and bring some blues as well. So if my key clouds will appear first, I'm going gingerly at the same time. I need to stay brave and bold with my marks. Just want to constantly compare them as they appear on that character, because if the lights will come in not in the shape I want, I will have to go back to grays in order to reshape it. Okay, so that's and also I want to build up shapes. If I need to add more light, that will be better rather than trying to finish them. now. It's more giving the test of the light. I don't want to lighten or dismiss my shadows here. They need to support. Okay. Again, sponge is fabulous for these effects. Lovely to see how it's very freely moves the light about its potential. Okay, I'm gonna just leave that one there for now. I can see this lovely patch of water maybe coming in there later on as well. I can do that with a brush, or I can have more precise shapes. Now I want some more light, but softer light. Might paint it in a similar consistency for this distant cloud. But if I use a little bit of water, it will dry slightly paler. It also gives me a flatter shape. So some more light, a little more here. These three connected in a not welcome way to me, just too similar. They might dry differently, so it's a lot of judgment really to make whether it dry as it is. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes you rely on it's drying differently. This one dipped a little too long. Wash my brush by sponge so it's, I think the white spread and all its side as I've been using different edges. So you can also use your sponge as a tool to lift shapes, colors. Just touching up the area which was underpainted. You can see that one is now no longer as bold in light. So I think I'll start adding some blue and then focus on getting stronger light again. So again, for my blue, I'm gonna go fresh white, and I'll start with some phthalo blue. I love that lovely turquoise, so I might need a little more emerald green to create it. Okay. Emerald green and phthalo blue. So let's place that color through. It's a little opaque than expected. Maybe I just need some more paint, more volume of paint here. Extra white. Just using the tip of the sponge here. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's my opportunity to add more sky on a lower region where it might not be on my photograph, but where I'd like to have some extra light. So I'm thinking of blocking some of the shapes first. Yeah, that might be the reflection of the water in the distance. Yeah, that's when heavy-handed strokes are not welcome here. Right, and let's go for slightly a stronger blue. I'm going to find the shape of that blue. I've got quite a pointy corner of the sponge, not deliberately somehow. I think it's been squashed or worked its way out. But it might be a good benefit for when I'm lifting the sponge. It gives me more of a defined point here. Okay, a little struggling to see my true blue here because of reflections. I can't be patient waiting for it to dry, because then I won't be able to smudge it or work into that blue. So I need to make those decisions now. And I'm going further up. And start bringing my blue even stronger. So I have a sharp edge to this blue, and I have a soft edge. I'll have a sharp edge, and I'll have a softer one as well. Maybe another sharp one will come up with cloud at the front. Maybe I'll just stay plain for now, but bear in mind that I'll need to come back. Okay, this pointy edge now annoys me, so I'm going to squash it or choose a different corner. It started to do more damage than oh, it's a good space. That's a good light coming through. So shows the depths of the cloud as well. Quite like that little light left. Okay. I still haven't decided on blending off the shape of the sky for now. I'm gonna let it dry, perhaps go a little bit lighter, and then bring some clouds over as well. I'll start to have more depth now, and I'm gonna start working more darker, going up. Okay, I'm just gonna find a nice pattern for it, for that light. That's very hard to see. No, I don't want any smudges of blue. Otherwise it changes the warmth of the cloud. Just gonna wash my sponge here and wipe the little glaze of pale blue here as well. Sure, my sponge is not damp. I'm going to pick up a different corner now on my sponge while it's clean. Okay, let's go back to white, phthalo blue, and some ultramarine. Maybe start from the top of the painting now. Let's find that depth. Magic of blue. And on top of the mountain, I've got more and more of a strong feel that I'm right there. I think that might be even darker. Maybe a hint of violet, which is deepen my, will deepen my blue. Right, I think it's a patchy part. That's what I don't like. So some extra blue, some extra violet, but the white, the volume of white in the blue. And give flatter. appearance. Okay. And if I put a bold blue, strong blue, it will look, it does look a little strange because it's behind the clouds and it's not going to be so strong. So in that sense, if I would have painted more of the cloud, it would be easier to just smudge it over. So I might do the opposite. I might paint the cloud over to show its appearance. Right, let's have this connection here as well. I'll go slightly lighter blue with a little bit of violet and ochre in there. That might just start showing. I'm seeing the sky, but also I'm seeing some of the fluffy part of the cloud here. So that's why it's not so bold, strong blue. White dumps here. It's too blue. Blowing there, that cloud. It's quite nice, but not too sure about the mark making. It's a little repetitive. Almost I can see the width of my sponge. And I want it to be more playful and without telling how it's done. Yeah, that's a brush. What's that width used? Okay, let's see how that dries. More clearer now. How the lower areas of blue are drying. Yeah, so that becomes not the best shape yet. Quite like these two, quite like some of that. I'm not too sure about that shape here yet. But now the area stops being so reflective. I can work with that. Quite surprised how this cloud stands out. I thought I might need more layers of white. I might still add more white to it, but for now it's really present in that environment. I might just sharpen what's around it. So now it's all focusing now on nuances, on subtones of the clouds, of sharpening of the lights on the ground. Maybe deliberately defining some of the center points of traveling light on over the hills here. Right, as the sky is slowly drying, you start seeing the shapes a bit better. But let's now have some of the highlights on the ground. Now, I'm going to use a brush now. Just trying to see what size brush will be better. Maybe a little bit smaller one. And I also need some extra white. So let's have a warm color mixed. So if I start with some fresh white and some ochre and orange. I haven't got any cadmium yellow today. I'll see if I can use just ochre and orange, just to keep a little bit more muted colors. Let's test. That might be quite a strong color, maybe a little bit more crimson. I want to keep on going from darker colors, going lighter as I'm picking up some of that warmth. Right, so perhaps a touch of that sharpness. Okay, perhaps a little too strong. I think I'll probably want that sharpness on top of a darker color. It's quite nice seeing a damp version of my darks. Gives a lovely depth. Perhaps something to consider. Okay, let's test slightly. Look how much darker this color is on the palette, and look how much bold and light it looks against my mountain. Maybe even stronger darker. I'm starting gingerly, so once I've tested out, once I've found my correct tone, then it's easier to block it in. Right, I think this could go out of this corner here as well. I start to look closer to the photo and spot variety of shapes and ledges and all sorts of things. I need to be careful not to over do it. I want to stay with the overall perception of the shapes. I think that's important. More important than getting a little lost in volume of details. But also I do need to have that prep colors for the highlights to come in. And little smudges with a sponge stretches and dilutes the paint as well. Right, well, this one is gently drying. Some highlights on the stones. Again, because it's I'm using the paler pink made from violet, orange, and a little crimson. It should bring more attention to this area. Strategically, as it is closer to us, that's where we are on this path. Just looking back. Or could be descending. And I think we're actually looking down, just turning to see what's we're passing. This darker shape is needs to be there, but not too strong. Let it dry. Let it dry and see how that connection is going to work. Yep. All right, now let's have a look at the valley light. Because if I were to find the lights next to my mountains, I will find that support and strength in the mountains. Okay, that's too precise. Tiny bit of water. Now I can afford to add some water to have some softer shapes, stronger shapes. I'll use a brush and I'll then support these strokes with a sponge smudge to find that natural appearance that's a bit more softer. Let's bold a little darker patch here. Again, that gives me a suggestive feel of the valley without saying too much. Just watching for repetitive strokes or repetitive shapes or similarities on that rhythm. Okay, let's be then let it settle. Okay, a little bit more sharpness. You can always make it bold and stronger, but I need to show that fleeting light, that moving light. You need to really build up on its strength. So that strong color works much better. That's nice and soft, but we'll have some extra lights. So I want to have a little bit more softness. Yeah. Let's give it a less sharp finish. Light coming through the darkness of the cloud, yeah, getting that suggestion. Over the little. Okay, that's good. Just a little stronger angle if we're painting a ridge going up. Have more light here. Just top up the warmth. In some of these areas as well. And I'm preparing it for that extra light, distant light. A lot of darkness at the back. Let's just tiny bit break it down with pale and cooler purple. I'll apply it a little bit in chunks and then partially use a sponge to dilute it and blend it, and then partially it will remain as it is. Okay, so I've flattened some of the areas in here, so to make some extra heights back, I'll need to bring a little bit more light and also sharpen some of the shadows. Okay, I'm happy there. Just checking what else I'm working on. Okay, maybe some paler purple, violet. Violet and ochre. Lighter version of it. I think I might need to see how it dries first. And then this bold light could come in and smudge. Just do a little bit here first, and then I will let it be. That's immediately giving me that going up the hill feel. Okay, how the slopes develop. All right, let's see how slightly lighter tone will work here as well. So I've got quite a lot of heat here. So perhaps if I were to put a cooler, like purple and and ochre light. It might just gently cool it off. She gives me the sharpness, but at the same time cools it gently. Okay, that's good. I like how that valley develops there. Also wanted to see a bit of warmth here, so that's where I needed my extra cool light attention. Just see if this one needs any sharpening. Stronger and much better. The colors and tones are much more prepared for this light now. Yeah, I'm just trying to play with that light, tease it out. We're using a little bit of water and the sponge gives me almost oil painting qualities to acrylic. I think I still can put some more bolder light here, but I'm happy with it as it is for now. Just overlooking everywhere else. Right, I can sharpen some of the water and maybe pay a bit more attention to some of these clouds and tweak some of the clouds elements, and also this area I want to look at while on these colors. Let's work here. Some of these greens are just a little patchy, less pleasant type of patchy. I think they dried to show less pleasant effect. Mhm. So easily fixed just by putting some fellow blue and ochre with some white. I haven't washed my brush. I'm moving from one color to another. I haven't been washing my brush yet. That's just how this case reflects. That's a tricky one to see. Maybe a little bit of even orange. Don't have a warmer green here. Ochre and orange already have some white. I think my blue is strong in darkness, so I'll continue adding more white. So this is a lighter part. And this outline. I wasn't too sure about that shape either. Maybe the water will need to curve it a little lower. There's a lot of darkness in the photograph, but now if I were to look closer, I can find more subshapes and sublights in those areas. So that's how I'm going to improvise in with my greens here. I'm going to find this valley light slightly stronger here, not just in warmth, but also in that green color. And I do like how it's sharpens the border, softens the border. Is that part of the valley? Is that part of the kind of inner slope? Is that part of the area close to us? Again, a little bit lost and found. Like this patch of water. Just small nuances, really, tiny bit at a time. Need to see how shades dry. Okay, that's too much now. Moist paint. Go surface by surface here, checking its contribution to the whole piece. I'm also looking close. You see the screen more as a distant view, but I'm starting to see what's close to in the close observation. Is that a beautiful surface? To make sure that every inch and centimeter of the painting is delightful to work with and observe. And just planning for the future highlight here. The more paint, the more learn how to be patient with acrylics in bringing those nuances to life. Okay, that's becoming to sing now a bit more, but at the same time it supports the cloud. It's not breaks away from its power. More similar highlights here, now they're drying. Dry brush in here. Okay, good. Lighting light. Lighting light, but I just need to make sure it is the right form and texture. It's not overwhelming or taking something away. Not the opposite. Paint takes too much attention off towards it. Okay, I think this is better soft. Be deliberate. Light connection here. Allowing the shadow on the mountain to pass. There's a little bit of that. Maybe it's will stop taking too much attention away from what's behind and from this lovely lake. Okay. I think I'm ready to give it a little break and step away from the. Okay, that gives an even better line here. Step away from changing light and see how the all these highlights will dry. Perhaps that will also give me an opportunity to overlook the whole piece and touch them and define the clouds. I think I'm almost there. Yeah, just this distance part of the clouds and just working a little bit more into the far back clouds as well. So thank you very much for staying with me today. I hope you got inspired. Hope giving you an idea how to paint the land looking down. Yeah, if we're almost in the plane and on the peak of the mountain. Give it a go. And if you want to share your work with me and want a little bit of a comment, let me know and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much and happy painting time. Bye bye.